Hello and welcome to the Flick in the Frame. Today, I want to take the time in this video to talk to you about one of my favorite fictional characters in the entire world, Bat-Man. Oh, wait, hang on, typo. Hang on. There we go. All right, let's try that again. Man. Oh, wait, no, that's too many letters. All right, one more time. Batman. Now, we all know Batman. Maybe not on a personal level, but even if you've never read any of his comics or seen any of the movies, you can't escape Batman.
I'm Batman.
He's everywhere. On your lunchboxes, your shoes, your toasters, and even on your favorite brand of canned soup. He's one of the biggest comic book characters in the entire world. Just last year, the latest Batman comic, Big Thick Batman, was the highest selling comic book of 2024, and he's an absolute box office juggernaut, with the Batman films grossing a total of over... I should have looked that up. With the Batman films grossing over a total of $6.8 billion. And what's crazy is Bruce Wayne still has more money than that. So there's no denying how extremely well known The Dark Knight is. But have you ever wondered why he's so popular? Well, there's a reason, and I'm gonna tell you right after you leave a like on this video. Great, now that that's taken care of, let's talk about the main man himself. No, not that guy. I meant Batman. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Since his debut in 1939, Batman has appeared in at least 2 serials. No, not like cornflakes, like a TV serial. Basically an old-fashioned way of saying a TV show. 6 live-action TV shows, 15 animated TV shows, 18 live-action movies, 50 video games, 57 animated movies, and a total of 24,235 issues of comic books. So, Batman is extremely popular. Yeah, he definitely sits at the lunch table with all the cool kids from your high school, and your crush is definitely crushing on him. But why? Well, like I said, the comics definitely attribute to that fame, but they don't really move the needle. People mostly know Batman from his huge success of blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
Which we've been seeing for the last few decades. Most recently, the Batman mythos has been expertly brought to life by Matt Reeves with the latest Batman movie and Penguin TV show. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy made him culturally relevant again in the mid-2000s. Before that, Batman made a big splash with Batman '89, directed by Tim Burton, which some people say attributed to the rise of comic book sales in the early 90s. And before that, Batman was big on TV, with the Batman TV show starring Adam West and Burt Ward. And before that, really nothing. Sure, he was still popular, doing big numbers in comic book sales, but interest in superheroes had begun to decline in the 1950s. They were too busy going down to the malt shop or going to the sock hop or whatever people did in the 50s. And by the time the 1960s rolled around, Batman was being outsold by characters like Scrooge McDuck, Mickey Mouse, Archie, and Casper. Before making his way to the small screen in 1966, he was on a very similar trajectory to the Green Hornet. And we all know how that turned out. Shit! So what happened? Why the spike in cultural relevance before the debut of the Batman TV show? Well, let's just say that it has something to do with a one Hugh Hefner. Remember those 2 TV serials I mentioned earlier? No? What? I definitely did. All right, let's check the tape.
Batman has appeared in at least 2 serials. No, not like cornflakes, like a TV serial.
Right, so Batman's first on-screen appearance happened in 1943 when he appeared in the 15-chapter theatrical serial simply titled Batman from Columbia Pictures. Oh, but Ryan, we want to hear about Hugh Hefner. I'm getting there, all right?
That comes later.
Where was I? So Batman makes his live-action debut in 1943 during the peak of World War II, and let's just say Batman is not shy about his anti-Japanese sentiment in this serial.
Jap! Are you devil?
Whoa, bad Batman, no. Despite being one of Columbia Pictures' biggest serials to date at that point, The Batman was not well received and was described by critics as an unintentional farce. But that didn't stop Columbia Pictures from making another Batman serial in 1949 titled The New Adventures of Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder. Just rolls right off the tongue, that one. Once again, a middling to bad entry in Batman's short-lived screen career. And after that, he vanished. Well, not completely. He still had comics running, but Batman wouldn't appear in another piece of media until 1966. Interest in the character began to slowly re-emerge in 1964 when Ed Graham Productions pitched the idea for a Batman TV show similar in tone to The Lone Ranger to CBS. Talks escalated and LA Rams linebacker Mike Henry was even photographed in a Batman costume, but the photos never surfaced and talks kind of fizzled out. The show was then pitched to NBC, but they passed as well, and Batman was dead in the water once again. I think the main reason NBC and CBS decided to pass on the show was, one, like I mentioned earlier, superheroes were going out of fashion in this era, and two, the 1960s saw a huge shift in sociocultural sensibilities, and people's taste in media began to diversify. Shows with a tone similar to The Lone Ranger were no longer selling like they used to. Instead, people in this era were more into sitcoms and flashy variety shows. And some people had even begun to appreciate media that didn't take itself so seriously and was a bit campy, as mentioned in Susan Sontag's article Notes on Camp, which was published in the 1964 issue of Partisan Review. The 1960s also saw a massive growth in the pop art movement that challenged the traditional idea of art and resonated with the changing sociocultural climate. Funnily enough, pop art sensation Andy Warhol actually produced and directed an unofficial Batman silent film in 1964 titled Batman Dracula. So after CBS and NBC passed on the show, the TV rights to Batman returned to DC, but they were still eager to bring Batman to the small screen, which they ended up doing. Eventually. We're getting there. Now, apparently, while all this was going on, Hugh Hefner of Playboy fame decided to put Batman on the cover of the October 1964 issue of Playboy magazine. Nah, I'm just joshing with you. Instead, legend has it that Hugh Hefner was a big fan of The Dark Knight growing up, and in 1964, randomly decided to throw a party where he screened the Batman serial for the partygoers. Which honestly sounds like a fucking slog. That whole thing is like 3 hours and 35 minutes and boring as hell. That's like watching Madam Web twice. Anyways, the serials were intentionally shown to make fun of them. Everyone knew they were camp and bad, but the audience was super into it. Now, supposedly at this party was ABC television executive Yale Udoff, who was also apparently a big fan of Batman growing up, and after seeing the crowd's reaction and engagement to the serial, ran back to ABC and encouraged them to make the Batman TV show that we know today. But the story of Hugh Hefner's Batman party has gone through a game of telephone over the years, and the details of what happened exactly has been twisted around, with most claiming the party never even took place. But Playboy still had a role in contributing to the Dark Knight's rise of fame. See what I did there? Now, the truth. What really happened is that the ABC TV vice president of daytime programming, Harve Bennett, had actually been interested in making a Batman TV show as early as 1963, but Ed Graham, who had the rights at the time, never pitched the show to ABC. And after CBS and NBC passed, the rights went back to DC. DC then sold the Batman TV rights to ABC sometime in 1965. They brought on William Dozier as producer, who had actually never read a comic book in his entire life, but decided to make the show campy with a heavy pop art influence, as were the popular trends at the time. It was literally lightning in a bottle. Let's just say we definitely would have never seen Batman and Joker having a surf-off if it wasn't for William Dozier.
Joker's good. What a kick turn.
But watch Batman trimming.
Dozer began to develop the show towards the end of 1965 and would debut its first episode in January of 1966. And it was a huge success. The show ended up running for 3 seasons and spawned a feature-length film. But something isn't adding up. Sure, the show was very popular at the time and is looked back on fondly, but that doesn't explain why the show caught fire. Not literally, that'd be crazy. The simple answer, BAT-MANIA. Back then, Batman wasn't the only superhero on TV. Like I mentioned earlier, Batman as a franchise was on a very similar level to the Green Hornet in this era. Both were about wealthy bachelors wearing masks, doing martial arts, detective work, and running around with their faithful sidekick. Both had comics running since the late 1930s, both had several radio plays, and both had 2 serials in the 1940s. And yes, the decision to make the Green Hornet TV show only came after the success of the Batman TV show, but Green Hornet was canceled after only 1 season, whereas, like I mentioned earlier, the Batman TV show got 3 seasons plus a feature film. So what's the main difference here? Why was Batman more popular than the Green Hornet, even though they had extremely similar backgrounds in media? Well, this is where Playboy comes in. Around the same time ABC began developing the Batman TV show in 1965, unsolicited, the Playboy Theater in Chicago, which, from what I understand, screens more than just porn, began showing the Batman serial on weekends, calling the event An Evening with Batman and Robin. The re-releases drew huge crowds of people who were super into the camp nature of the original serials. It became a so bad it's good type thing. So much so that it had a higher attendance than any previous re-release by Columbia Pictures. People were going for repeat viewings, with some fans even showing up in costume to cheer on the Caped Crusader. The re-release at the Playboy Theater became so popular that news outlets started writing articles about the craze, dubbing it BAT-MANIA. Columbia Pictures then made the decision to re-release the serials at many theaters across the country, where they drew huge crowds consisting of old fans, movie lovers, and college kids. BAT-MANIA swept the nation, and just before the debut of the Batman TV show in 1966, Batman's popularity was at an all-time high. So what I'm saying is, without the Playboy Theater randomly deciding to show the Batman serials, the Batman TV show would have crashed and burned had it not been for the renewed interest in the character. It's possible that the Batman TV show might have even failed like the Green Hornet, and the Batman property would be nowhere near as popular as it is today. And if you don't like that, well, do your own research. Draw your own conclusions. If you're interested in learning more, I highly recommend $1 Billion Batman by Bruce Schiavelli. Not an ad, I'm just a big Bat fan, and I found the book to be very insightful. But if that seems like too much work for you, you can always subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and leave a comment down below with your own opinions. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Goodbye.